Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Thick Thoughts, do you need some audio while you're working out and you just don't have enough thick thoughts in your life? Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/thickthoughts. Help support our podcast and keep the lights up and running. Keep us funded with cheesy Fiesta potatoes, you know.
Welcome to the Thick Thoughts podcast. My name is Ellie.
Hi, I'm finishing chewing a chip, and I'm Sarah.
And today we are with the lovely Moni, VSGMoni.
And titillating. We need a few more adjectives.
Yeah,
the lovely, effervescent, inspiring, humbling, and groundbreaking Moni.
Yay!
Is it effervescent? Is that like Alka-Seltzer? I mean, I cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, you're bubbly.
Oh, I guess that would make sense.
Yes.
I didn't even think of Alka-Seltzer.
Alka-Seltzer, effervescent Alka-Seltzer. I have Alka-Seltzer.
Huh. I'm drinking seltzer water.
Oh my god, I'm drinking water and eating chips. Anyways, balance. Yeah, I did have a carb-free, gluten-free, calorie-free tortilla earlier. I'm just kidding.
Was it a tortilla or was it like a sheet of lettuce?
It was crafted by me.
So Moni, welcome to the podcast. We love you.
Just know that you guys.
Know that up front. So tell us
You're
little.
Okay. Let's keep our expectations low. You're okay.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your journey. How'd you get here? And all that stuff.
Journey. I am about 2.5 years post-op. I had VSG. Before that, I had the lap band. That's something that not a lot of people know. And I really struggled with the lap band. It's one of the things where, if someone were to ask me, would you recommend it? I'd probably say no. And I try not to be too adamant about, people's choices and whatever they decide. But that's one of the things that I can say that I wouldn't personally recommend. It was difficult. I went into VSG honestly expecting to fail, which is really difficult. I was really sick with the lap band, so I had to take it out. And I had to decide, am I going to take this thing out and just leave my stomach as is? Am I going to, should I try VSG? Should I try the gastric bypass? Like, I was just kind of like at a crossroads where I had to make a decision. And when they say that the lap band is removable, it's reversible, it's not as easy as they try to make it seem. So anyway, the point is I ended up having a VSG. Before I had VSG, they had me on an 8-week diet with raw vegetables and 2 protein shakes a day for 8 weeks.
That sounds horrible.
So would you say
transition?
So would you say the lap band wasn't the lap of luxury?
Yeah, it was not.
I was waiting to make that joke.
It was no, it definitely was not. No.
So you had a pre-op diet?
Yeah.
And what made you decide on the VSG over the RNY or not having it at all?
Well, this is one that I try to word carefully because I feel like everyone needs to make their own decision, including the lap band with according to their own circumstances. But I felt more comfortable not bypassing that part of my intestine and just having like a VSG, because I figured you can I mean, not that you would want to revert to another surgery, but you can always have it later if that's an option. I thought it was just the best route for me at the time. Honestly, to this day, sometimes I think, would I have been more quote unquote successful if I would have chosen the bypass? But at the same time, I'm very healthy right now. My doctor's happy. I'm still continuing progressing, or in my journey. So I feel like I made the best decision for myself at the time. And I think everyone should kind of talk to the doctor. And I sat there with my doctor and I said, if I was your daughter, what would you tell her to do? Like, what would you recommend as a doctor, as the person that's going to be operating on me? Like, what would you decide? And he recommended that I had the vertical sleeve gastrectomy. So that's kind of what I went for.
I think we all have like questions or doubts about, like, I know for me personally, I always think like, well, would I have fared better or been more quote unquote successful if I had the iron way? So I think that's like a relatively normal thing. My doctor also did the duodenal switch. So sometimes I think about like, oh, should I have done that? But yeah, I don't know. Ellie, do you have any like woulda, coulda, shouldas?
Oh, every day. Especially right now going through my stall, which I know, Moni, like you haven't gotten to that part yet, but I know that you're going through a stall too. So like I also always have to ask myself, I'm like, should I have done the bypass? Would I have been more like successful with it? But then at the same time, I'm just like, no, I think I did a pretty like I'm healthy. It's not like I'm,
Right.
not not living my life at the moment,
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
And and I wanted to, and I was asking a lot about your bone density as you get older, because there's a lot of things that I still have questions on. And like, I honestly went through a hair loss phase twice, and I don't know if that would have been worse. And I'm not very obviously well educated. I'm sure that there's people that have had the Roux-en-Y that have that, that swear by it. I know I've even had people that have had Roux-en-Y that told me that I've made the wrong decision, and I don't ever want to be the kind of person to say that to someone else. And I still don't know. Like, honestly, I don't know if I would have been lost more weight. I probably would have, but I think for me, I'm happy with the decision I've made, and I'm happy with the, so far so good.
right.
Minus the stall.
Yeah. Welcome to Stall City. Population 3 or so.
Or so, yeah. So if you had the opportunity, would you go maybe for the gastric, or like you're done?
At this point, I think I'm happy. Like, I was thinking about that because I mean, I could still go to my doctor, but when I've gone to my doctor, they're like, no, you're cool. You've lost what we figured you were going to lose, like your body shape, like your bottom heavy. That's going to help you as you get older. And you don't have a lot around your organs, like basically saying like you're healthy. And they're just, actually, my doctor encouraged me. One of my doctors encouraged me to go more plant-based, and the other one's encouraging me to do more of a low carb, which is kind of funny. It's like, what do I do? But I mean, it's one of those things where you got to figure out. I take my doctor's advice, but then at the same time, I remember I have to be my own advocate and see how I feel and all that good stuff. But I honestly, for now, I'll just say like I'm happy with where I am in terms of like the decisions that I've made.
Right. And so you said that you're two years post-op? Is that what you said?
About 2.5 years now.
Damn, congrats, girl. And right now you're actually getting ready to go and do something really cool.
I'm like, I am? Are you talking about the Spartan?
Yes.
Yes.
Or the burrito I'm about to smash out? No, I'm kidding. I wish.
Also, tell us all about the burrito.
No, I wish. I just talk about it. I'm all talk. And sometimes I'll walk too, I guess. But yeah, I'm training for a Spartan now, which I'm super excited / nervous / anxious about. The day I signed up, I did not sleep. I was like, what did I do? This isn't me. I was just like all the doubts. I was looking at all the forums, which basically were like talking about people that got injured. Like I read a forum that basically said that somebody like passed away on the course. So I like you can imagine my anxiety.
Oh
Like
no.
yeah.
It's like WebMDing like a 5K.
Oh my
Yeah, and I
god.
was like, maybe I'll get encouraged if I see all these people, different shapes and sizes that complete these races, and then, but no, but mostly there's very encouraging things, and it's a really cool community. It's a whole nother community. So that's really helped. But I think since I'm doing this with a group of people, actually, it's really cool. It's a group of weight loss, Instagrammers. Miriam. Mirror on a Mission is actually got a group together, and we're all gonna try to do it together, and which is good because it encouraged me to do it. But at the same time, it's kind of like you have that other factor of disappointing people and slowing people down, and that's kind of scary.
I mean, I wouldn't think of it that way. Don't think of it as that, like you're doing it,
Yeah.
Like it's not like, I don't know, you're doing it, girl. Like don't think it that way, because I know I would probably get in my head and also start thinking of it that way, where I'm just like, I'm gonna make everybody sad, but you're not. You're gonna do amazing, and I'm so excited. I'm watching your stories every day just to like get super inspired to do it around wherever the hell I'm living next. So you talk a little bit about anxiety. Like, do you have ways of like, have you always had anxiety? Is that something that's like always been like relevant in your life and stuff?
Yeah, I kind of asked my mom, like, if when I was younger, like, if I ever showed signs, and she said I was basically born with it, and I was like, that's cool. Um, but it got really bad when I was about 12 years old. It developed into something called agoraphobia, where I couldn't leave my house. And it kind of sneaks back up at certain times of my life. But basically, anytime I try to leave my house, I get a panic attack. So it's honestly very terrifying. And honestly, I don't think an adolescent at 12 years old, 10 years old, that where people start to develop this should ever have to like go through that. But yet, in a weird way, I feel like it's kind of made me the person that I am. Like being overweight, like I also had Bell's palsy where half of my face got paralyzed. So I mean, life has really, really humbled me. So, but at the same time, I'm like, it kind of made me who I am today.
Right.
Like, I mean, do you guys feel that like in your life that what you've gone through has kind of like molded you to be more empathetic toward other people? You know what I mean?
No, I feel like like I'm obviously whatever happens when you're younger molds you to who you are when you're older, but I mean, I've always had anxiety too, so I get what you're saying, girl.
But yeah, but I think pretty much like it's just helped me like try to understand how other people are feeling, but at the same time, it's like it's also affected me in a lot of ways where it's kind of crazy because I'll go out and I'm actually very social, but I could be out at a social event and that won't get me nervous, but it's other things and people won't realize what I'm feeling
Mhm.
because you don't show it outwardly, you know what I mean? And inside you're freaking out,
Yeah.
but nobody knows.
So you were agoraphobic when you were 12? That's crazy, dude. Like, how did you
Yeah.
like did you even know that that's what you were, or like later on in life you found out that that's what happened?
No, and it's kind of funny because like my parents like kept forcing me to my mom kept forcing me to go to school, and like I would puke in the middle of the road on the way to school, and it was right across the street, and they wouldn't understand, and so that like they didn't really figure it out. They took me to the doctor, they didn't know, and somehow by chance in the garage, I was just in one of the many days I was just home by myself. I found something about anxiety, and I was reading all the symptoms, and I was like, oh my God, this is what I have. So
Mhm.
I took this little sheet of paper to the doctor and I said, I think this is what is going on. And that's like at 12 years old. Um, and so then that's when they kind of diagnosed me and all that good stuff. And so I got, independent studies and eventually ended up going back to school during high school. Um, and then just kind of just little by little started kind of adapting, going further and further and out of my comfort zone. But I kind of I've talked to you guys about it a little bit before, but things like say, traveling to New York, that would terrify me right now. So I kind of have to just do things little by little, but I'm actually learning and just experiencing more life every day because I wasn't living life. I was just terrified of the next day and terrified to be alive, to be honest.
Mhm.
I can not imagine like just the strength that you've had thus far, and like to do all the things that you've done already. Like that must have taken so much strength, and I admire you a lot for that, Moni.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I like, and I don't mean to turn this all serious, but that is kind of, it's a big part of my life and something that I really like to talk about, because you never know whose life you're going to change talking about it and helping them talk about it and get help.
Right. And also maybe they're not even like aware of what they're going through, like that it has a
Right.
term or a name or anything like that.
That's true too. That's very true.
And I think you've done a good job of sharing like your mental health journey, like sharing it publicly, because I think so many people, there's such a stigma not only against like weight loss surgery but also mental illness. So I think you talked about having empathy for others who are in the situation, like just having empathy and like showing people that having mental illness is nothing to be ashamed of. Like it blows my mind, because like to me it seems so simple. Like if you are struggling and you need therapy or medicine to like make your brain's levels normal, like it's no different than like having diabetes and needing insulin shots. Like to me they're synonymous, but I think that there's such a misconception of like, oh, you don't feel good, just do it. Like you just have to like get up every day and do it. And it's like, well, when you're struggling, it's not that simple.
Right.
Yeah. That's very true. And like, just for example, like last week I felt like I was doing amazing at the gym, and then this week, like all of a sudden it's like a darkness that kind of comes over you and you're not the same anymore. And it's hard because you don't want to have to take medication. It's kind of like you get weight loss surgery, you don't have diabetes anymore, you can stop taking it. But it's like sometimes you feel like with anxiety there's like no permanent cure in a way. You can get better, but it's at the same time, it's like I know that any minute around any corner it can come back, and that's what I think is difficult.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know that. Like I take Prozac for like some general anxiety and like depression. And something that like there's a few months ago where I was like, well, I've lost this much weight, so like maybe I don't need to take the medicine anymore. So I went off it for a few weeks, and I was like, it's almost like, I say this like there's nothing to be ashamed of like taking medicine for it, but then like I go off it for a few weeks because I'm like, well, maybe I don't need it anymore. And it's like, if I was diabetic, I wouldn't be like, well, maybe I can go off insulin for a little while and like see what happens.
Yeah.
Right.
And like I hate to say this, but like when I went off it for a few weeks and I realized, like, you know what, girl, you need Prozac. I was like disappointed in myself, and that's not a way I should feel, but I mean, it's just like this whole process, especially like after losing weight and the hormones that are involved with like extreme weight loss. It's just like it fucks with you, man.
It
Yeah.
really does.
Yeah. And that sneaks up on people too, is that they don't realize what, and I know you guys have talked about this in other podcasts or episodes. But but it does, your hormones go all out of whack. And so when I went back to my doctor, I'm like, I'm feeling worse, and they're like, everything you're experiencing is brand new, your body's changing, and it's good things, but it's a new experience and it's not easy for you to handle, and your hormones are going out of whack. And I was like, cool, I just needed something to make me worse. But after a while your hormones will stabilize and be actually even better than before, in terms, and so there is some benefit to it, especially with regular exercise. And that's why I almost get anxious when I don't exercise, but it does really help me get some of the anxiety off. So some days it doesn't help, I'll be honest, but some days it does. It's kind of like, CBD oil, it'll take the edge off, but some days it's just so bad that won't even touch it.
Right.
Yeah. So, you live in an area that has a lot of like Instagram meetups and stuff, and you've even like planned a Instagram meetup yourself. Can you talk about like why you have like, because you do have anxiety, like what inspired you to like go to meetups in the first place, or what your first meetup was and like what your experience?
because apparently I like to be miserable and give myself anxiety, so I decided I'd set up these meetups. But I actually really enjoy being social. I love talking to people about their experiences, and I think that's what it is. And something about me, and I was just talking to Cody, is I love helping other people and motivating other people, and that motivates me in turn. And so I just wanted to meet other people, and that's how I actually ended up meeting Cody. And yeah, so it just my first one I think was in LA at Universal City, and it was a lot of fun. And so after that I started to do another one, and every time I would have the opportunity. But now I kind of like the smaller groups because I find that I actually like to have conversations and all that good stuff too. So
And if you don't mind me asking, who's this Cody person you keep referring to?
I actually met, he's my boyfriend, and I met him via Instagram. Actually, well, not kinda. So, because he's not on here, I'm gonna say that he slid into my DMs, even though he'll tell you the opposite. But yeah, he ended up going to one of my meetups, and like, we were at a big table, and he like purposefully sat a seat away from me. So, I was like, oh, okay. But anyway, they ended up, people started filling in, and they made him move over one, and the rest is history.
Ooh, and has he had the surgery or?
No, he actually has lost 180 pounds without surgery, which is, I don't like to say the natural way because, you know, reasons.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But he basically on his own without the tool.
Yeah. That's awesome. Good for him, seriously.
Yeah. But you see, guys, see fellas and ladies out there, even if you haven't had the surgery, you should definitely go to a meetup. See? Might find that
because we're
special someone.
Exactly. So true. Especially because a lot of the weight loss community is like, it's like 80%, well, on IG, are women.
Mhm.
Although I'm sure that in general too, but
Yeah. I mean, we've talked to some guys who have had weight loss surgery who've talked about like, I think in general, there's like maybe more of an acceptance of men to be overweight. So like, I think that contributes to like less men perhaps pursuing weight loss surgery. I don't know. I could be pulling it out of my ass. That's probably what I'm doing.
No, they said that, and they also said that it's looked down upon for men to reach out for help too. That was the other one. Which it's not. You should totally just do things to help yourself, no matter what people think about it.
Yeah, very true.
My honest opinion. So Moni.
Oh, is your name actually Moni, or do you have a full name? I know, because when we had Wally on, I was like, "Is your name Wally?" So I feel like people need to know. I'm sure. I know your name is Monica.
Monica. Moni. To me, it's all the same. So it's Monica, basically.
Monica.
Are you like Monica from Friends?
Oh, which Friends character are you?
I don't know actually. I haven't watched that show in forever.
What
Probably
about you,
Ross.
Ellie?
Me? Probably. I was gonna say the Monica, but then because that's what my friends say that I am, but I don't see it. But maybe I don't know. I wouldn't be a Ross. I don't know. I'll get back to that one.
Yeah, I think I'm a little like high strung, like Monica, but I think I'm like silly, like Joey or Phoebe.
Yeah.
You know,
Phoebe would. Yeah.
Maybe the Chandler.
Yeah.
Maybe Chandler.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So so were you? So I'm sorry. Correct me if you already said it, but were you always big when you were little as well?
Always.
Were you always big when you were little?
I was always big when I was little.
Let me rephrase that. Sorry.
Have you always been a fat fuck?
Have you always been overweight?
my brothers and sisters are all thinner than me. Everybody in my family is thinner than me. So my mom said that her pregnancy with me was so much different. She said she gained so much weight when she was pregnant with me. She ate so much candy. Like she just basically like something was different when she was pregnant with me. And I was like, okay, okay.
You were fat. You were a fat fetus.
In the womb. I was hashtag fat fetus. But basically.
How much did you weigh when you were born?
Um,
Do you know?
I don't even think my mom remembers. Like, she doesn't remember when I was born, like the day, the time, like, so she much less would remember, like, but she said I was like normal-ish weight, so I mean, but you know, she has to say that.
Right? Make you feel better. I was 11.
You were 11 pounds?
Yeah, and my mom pushed me out natural, no drugs.
Your mom is like a
Wow.
superhero.
She's a crazy bitch. She is crazy.
Oh my God, I can't.
It hurts me just thinking about it.
So Moni,
Yes.
what was the like one instance in your life that you were like, I'm gonna get lap band? Like what was the thing that you were just like, I've had it? Your like moment.
I think it's when well, it was like just a lot of events just happening, and I think when I had a personal trainer, spent thousands of dollars, went to Weight Watchers. I would go to Weight Watchers and they would tell me, well, you must not be exercising enough, and I would go to the personal training and they'd be like, well, you must not be eating right and you should take appetite suppressants and fat burners. You know, I was just like, I was fed up of trying and trying to, like, nothing I was doing was working basically. So it was very devastating, to be honest with you. And I think things were starting to happen. Like, I went to a restaurant. I was just eating on my lunch break, and I remember somebody said, "Hey, maybe you should step away from the table and stop eating." And like, I think what angers me the most is, one, that I didn't defend myself, and two, that nobody else kind of came to my defense either. You know what I mean? And so things like that would happen.
So I can't. That's so
I'm
horrible.
like,
I'm
I'm
sorry
just-
that
I
you
just
had to
got-
do that.
I
That
just got
you had to.
angry.
Yeah, and I was like 18 or 19, so that was like, I was at a very vulnerable age. Like, and I was still like, when I was still just going home to work and still trying to get used to like having a ton of anxiety, you know. And you know, it's funny because I was opposite than, you know, different than a lot of experiences. Like during high school, during school, like nobody ever made fun of me. I was lucky in a way, because I had a lot of things to make fun of, you know, a lot of things that they could have made fun of me for, but it was grown adults that made fun of me or that said things to me. It wasn't kids at school. So I think that people don't realize that, you know, even amongst adults, you know, that should be more mature. It's not necessarily the case. Like, you know, it's, and even as I've lost weight, you know, people have come up to me and kind of been critical. I also was in an airplane going to the Vegas meetup. I had already lost some weight, and someone refused to sit next to me on the airplane.
What?
So that was really cool. Yeah. So what happened was, I was going down the aisle, and like you could just see he was like looking. He's already sizing me up. Like I could already tell. And so as I was walking up, and I was like, "Oh, can I, you know, putting my overhead compartment thing in?" He's my suitcase in there. He's like, he told the lady that works there, what do you call him? The stewardess,
Yeah.
whatever her face is. He's like, "Is there can I move somewhere else?" And she's like, "No, sir. Like all the seats are taken up." And then he like looks at me and he just like sits down. And
That is so. I can't.
yeah. And I was like, I had the lump in my throat already. Like I was already nervous to ride in the plane because of my anxiety. And so then I ended up moving somewhere else by my mom and my sister because they were in a different place. And he's like, "Oh, it's okay." And I was like, "No, no, no, I don't want to sit next to you."
Right?
So
The thing
I
is,
left,
like,
and but I
like the thing is, I understand, like, just as much as someone who isn't overweight doesn't want to sit next to an obese person, the person who's obese doesn't want to be the person sitting next to you. Like, And it's, I think it, you know what I mean? Like they don't,
Yeah.
do you think someone wants their body to like spill into your seat? Like I remember one time I had to sit in the middle seat. Cause you know, if you were on like the window or the aisle seat, like you maneuver so you weren't like spilling into the next
Right.
person. At least I could. But like I was in the middle seat and I was like clenching my arms to my body, crossing my legs and keeping my legs tight together, which I'm not good at otherwise. But you know, like trying to like keep my fat away from these people. And I can't, like the thought that like someone, you know, not only thinks those things, because I think it's like if they think those things, like that's fine, because I'm sure that like to me it's like okay, like it's normal to like think those things, but like to not only think those things but to say them out loud, and not only say them out loud but like say them out loud while you're right there, like have
Yeah.
some decency, like oh
I think what pissed me off though is that like I had already lost enough weight where I was just in my seat. I wasn't spilling over. I didn't need a seatbelt extender. I had already lost 60 pounds, you know? So I think that's what hurt. If I was like half of my body was in his seat, then like I mean, I not that it would be right for him to be mean about it, but at least I kind of understand that I'm taking up his space that he paid for.
but you were
But
already
it
like
wasn't the
in a
case.
better, yeah, like you were already had made those steps to improve your life and that someone still viewed you.
Right.
I feel like I would be so passive aggressive about like I've never had somebody do that to me, but I would be more like, oh, I don't know.
The thing is, in situations like that, like it's a situation where like you think of the better things to say when you're in the shower the next day.
Yeah.
And this is like a tip for anyone. Like if someone says something to you and you don't know what to say back, a great auto response is excuse me, because it makes them say whatever dumb shit they said again, and then you have time to like formulate a smarter response. So like,
I think I just wish I had thicker skin though, you know, because I couldn't even get my words out. Like I was just trying not to cry, and I didn't want to give him the satisfaction to see me cry, so I didn't.
Mhm.
So my strength was all like I'm gonna keep it all in.
Oh yeah. I mean, and it's easy to say like, oh, I would have said excuse me, but oh my god, I probably would have wanted to cry also.
I would have been like, "Excuse me, sir."
I mean, that just reminds me of like this one situation going to the gym one time where I was just feeling really good about myself, and these girls were making a comment about how my legs were jiggling. And like it takes you totally by surprise where you don't even know what, like you're just like, I can't even
Yeah.
believe that somebody would say those things like about any, like that you're just like you're sideswiped with it. Is that the correct term?
Yeah. As the kids would say, you're shooketh.
You're shooketh. You're just like, what? Like you're frozen because you have no idea what to say. Like, yeah, I totally understand that.
Oh, this reminds me. There was one time that I was on a flight. I don't know where it was, but I was on a flight and I was sitting next to two young girls, and like every 2 seconds, this girl's flash would go off, and we were stuck on the tarmac for like an hour, and every few seconds, it looked like she was like taking a picture of me. And this was when I was at my heavy. I was super uncomfortable. I thought she was taking pictures of me, and so I like to this young girl. I was like, "Can you please stop taking photos of me?" And she's like, "Oh, I wasn't taking photos of me. I was just Snapchatting." And like, she probably was just Snapchatting, but at the time, I was like, "This little bitch is taking photos of me, trying to keep my fat off of her friend's arm." And oh my god, I haven't been on a plane since I lost weight, and like I think I still have like that anxiety of like going on a plane, that feeling of like, is the airplane seat gonna fit me, or is the seatbelt gonna buckle, or am I gonna hide it under my rolls?
As someone
So do I.
Yeah, as someone who just went on a plane today, I can tell you, I still select the side, the window seat or the aisle seat. I won't ever sit in the middle. Like I won't ever get a free seat for the middle. I have to pick the aisle or whatever because I'm still scared that I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna spill into someone's seat, or like they're gonna look at me and be like, "Oh God, we gotta like squeeze in between this girl." Like I can't. Like I I still have that, even though you're not, because like it's the greatest feeling in the world when you don't have to ask for an extender or pretend that you don't need one when you really do. It's just a good feeling, you know? Take a flight.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just take a flight.
Just take a flight somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my first flight might be to the New York meetup.
Ooh.
So, oh my god.
You're gonna have so many selfies of your
Seatbelt. I'm
With
gonna
the, like,
definitely sit next.
tension, like,
Mhm. Oh man, yeah. Did you guys ever like hide the buckle that was unable to buckle?
Oh yeah. Under my fat roll or under my sweater.
Oh
I would
yeah,
do either one.
either or, both. Why not?
There was one time they caught me doing that
Oh.
because like I didn't I put I put the one side on and I forgot to put the other side, and so it was like dangling next to me. So when they walked by, they're like, "Can you buckle your seatbelt?" And she stood there watching me as I struggled to suck in my gut so much so that I wouldn't need an extender.
Mm.
That was the worst feeling ever.
Yeah. And then the other thing is like at my heaviest, I was at the point where like some would buckle, but then there are some would just barely buckle, but then some were like would never buckle. And so it's like you have to, like you go on the plane, you're like, what kind of day is today? Is today the day that I'm gonna risk my life to hide the fact that I need a seatbelt extender? Or is today the day
yes,
that it's
it's
going
always
to buckle?
that day.
Mhm.
So Moni,
Mhm.
did you have like a favorite fast food order?
A favorite fast food. I probably Wendy's, maybe In-N-Out.
Mm. And what
But
did you order? What was your favorite order?
it's not past tense, to be honest. Sometimes I like me a
What
good
is
In-N-Out
your
burger.
favorite order?
I really like just In-N-Out burgers. I do. Luckily, they have the protein style, so you could just get the burgers if you want them, or whatever. But I still love the Wendy's chili. I'm all about that.
Yum.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had Wendy's. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Wendy's chili is so good. You could still get it.
Yeah. Us East Coasters. I've only had In-N-Out like once or twice when I was in LA a few years ago.
Yeah, you guys gotta visit California soon.
Mm-hmm. I think I've told you like my boyfriend. I have boyfriend. My boyfriend's family is in LA, so I'll be out there. I'm sure, unless he dumps me, which he would be stupid too. But whatever.
He would be.
I'll come out and visit you.
That would be amazing.
What is something that you find difficult right now in this point in your journey, besides obviously the Spartan race?
I think just continuing to move forward every day, because if you think about it, the further you got in your journey, now I think of that word, like it's always funny now. The further you're out, the more difficult it is, because you stop seeing the numbers move, people stop. So if you're motivated by people telling you look good, or the number moving on the scale, it's not going to help you for very long, because eventually, well, number one, people are going to stop complimenting you, and two, the scale's going to stop moving. And continuing to exercise and eat right when you don't see the scale moving is the hardest thing I've ever had to do, to be honest with you.
What?
And how long has the scale not moved for you?
I think it's been over a year now, at least. So I just saw like I almost lost it the other day, because I was going back in my Facebook my Instagram memories, and I was talking about how I was like, I think the scale's starting to move, and then it went back to what it was, and that was a year ago, and I was struggling, and I was like, I'm gonna keep trying. And I think the harder part about that is that Instagram has a lot of positivity, and it's amazing, and I'm choosing to follow people now that motivate me. But I was seeing a lot of negativity, and a lot of critical opinions about people that have either regained or haven't lost, and I think that's very detrimental to some people that are actually struggling.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was less than because I was in the plateau, um and I know that's not the case, but sometimes when you're down in the dumps, when you're not feeling good about yourself and you're sad and you're going um, to other people for motivation, which is also not a good thing to do all the time. And you see people, saying like, you're not losing because you're not in a calorie deficit, and you shouldn't do this and that, and you should be measuring your foods, which are all to a certain point true. But I think that the way that people are going about it and making you feel like you're a failure is really kind of detrimental.
Right.
Mhm.
Especially
And
when there's like other factors to losing weight, not just, you can have a lot of like, you have anxiety obviously, but I'm saying like anxiety contributes to a lot of weight hold. There's hormones in the mix, there's metabolisms. There's a lot of extra also things that come into play. And when
Mhm.
people just kind of like blindly are like, if you're not in a calorie deficit, then you're not gonna lose weight. If they just keep going on saying shit like that, like
I'm sorry, I just love that impression.
I
I mean,
can't handle
the
that fucking that
for
phrase.
yeah. The thing is, like, yes, that is true. In order to lose weight, one thing is that you have to be at a caloric deficit. But there are people. It's not like the thing is like every body is so different, and just
Right.
because someone's at a caloric deficit, it's like there are people who stall for weeks and weeks, even eating at a caloric deficit in their first 6 months. So they're doing everything that they're supposed to do, but they're still stalled. So does that mean our body is telling us when we're at a stall, or like our hormones impact how we retain weight? And so like people who are like, oh, you gotta eat a caloric deficit, that's why you're not losing weight. Like, first of all, fuck off, because my has I've been like I've not been stalled as long as Moni and Ellie. However, I've been like the last month I've been tracking, and I've been eating at a caloric deficit every single day. And guess who has not lost weight? And from months before that, I would track for a month at a time. I would be eating at a caloric deficit every damn day, and I haven't lost weight. So like I understand, and I think there's a lot of people who are in the community who are honestly just not being honest with themselves, and are not like, they don't track their food, or if they do track their food, they're not measuring, or they're like under whatever, and they aren't actually eating at a caloric deficit. However, there are also people whose bodies are made differently than yours, Susan, whose bodies are not losing weight and who have installed. And unless you're a fucking doctor, I don't want to hear your goddamn opinion. Sorry,
And
that was really passionate.
when I had the lap band done, I had, the recovery, you do clear liquids. I had a 2-week clear liquid diet with the lap band, and I lost 0 pounds. Riddle me that. I don't know how that happened. I lost
Moni, are you
nothing.
sure you were eating at a caloric deficit?
Hey, Moni, are you sure you're being real honest with what you're putting in your mouth?
Well, I don't know. I think the water must have, didn't help.
It's
But
just so
it was just broth and water, so I don't know, and Jello, so I don't really know how that happened. But they're like, oh, you may have swelling, but ever since since I got the lap band, 0. So I'm really grateful for VSG for one. I'll tell you that.
yeah. And I'm sorry if I came across as harsh. And like the caloric deficit, that is one factor in weight loss. Yes, that's true. You have to be eating at a caloric deficit in order to lose weight. But that's one aspect of it. Like, your body is crazy. It's almost like everybody is different. And some people's body doesn't want to lose weight even if they're eating at a caloric deficit. I'm sorry if I'm coming across angry, but I am a little angry. So
No, you're totally
but
fine
I
about
also
it.
think, but I also do think that we need to be, including myself, like sometimes I need to be like, you know what, you need to keep tracking, or I'll get like unmotivated, and for a couple of days, 2-3 days, I'll stop, and then I'll have to remind myself it's a constant battle. But let's say somebody is eating garbage or whatever, like that's also they may need to therapy, they may have, or somebody may have other issues that we don't know about, And I don't necessarily think that they should be made to feel like bad people
Right.
Yeah.
either. You know what I mean? It's just such a personal decision. Um,
Mhm.
like granted, like I've seen people post things that like they're eating fast food every day. I don't necessarily like it, but I don't have to look at it.
Exactly. Like, excuse me, Susan, I had to say no to a donut at a meeting at 8 a.m. yesterday. And I ate at a caloric deficit and I still didn't lose any goddamn weight. Anyways.
No,
Okay.
it's just I can't like I can't stand it, especially when it becomes like I understand that tracking and all of that kind of stuff does help, but also when people are preaching these things, you have to realize that a lot of people have these addictive I don't know if I want to use the word addictive, but like it's not healthy
Eating disorders.
Yeah, it's not healthy for them to be tracking every day and counting calories. Like that's not a healthy mental place for some people. And you can't be like, well, if you're not tracking, then that's why you're not losing weight. It's like you can't be telling somebody who is just like won't eat 10 calories under or over their diet like religiously that that's an okay thing for them to do when they're being that obsessive about it. You know what I mean? Like it's
And there are people who are not losing weight and also who are binging and purging, who are people who are overweight. Like, you know, this is more complex than just like eating at a caloric deficit. And I know like I don't want to shit on people who just say that, but I think what we're all trying to communicate is that it's not just like it's not a one size fits all. Like everyone has
Right,
their own journey.
exactly.
And the thing is, if someone is specifically asking you for your advice, then be honest with them and make sure you reiterate what has worked for you. And if eating at a caloric deficit has worked for you, then it's going to work for you. But if, as all of us are attesting to, tracking at a caloric deficit has not been working for us.
Oh yeah, so I was saying that there's a lot of people that I do ask for tips, and Michelle's one of them, and she'll be one to be like, oh, like, you know, look at this or this YouTube page, I got some here. And you know, so I do also get a lot of positive feedback from Instagram. I go to other people. I know that, you know, when I've been upset, I've talked to Ellie, and so I've gotten so much more positive from this community than I have negative. You know what I mean? And I think that the people that have really helped others and all that should be celebrated, and we need to kind of I don't know, I guess give back a little bit, you know. And for me, I'm really grateful that Instagram is available, or just being able to meet people.
Yeah,
Especially
that's a
you guys.
very
Sorry.
yeah. Thank you for bringing it back to a positive note. Overall, like if you surround yourself on Instagram, we are in the Instagram community, so that's something that we talk about a lot. But if you surround yourself with positive people who are uplifting you, who are supporting you, and you are supporting, like that's what you're going to feel. But yeah, so like just drown the negativity out with positivity. Well said, Moni.
Right. And I kind of wanted to say, like, take this time, and I'm sure that a lot of people feel this way, but this podcast has been a very, very positive contribution to this community, and I feel it's kind of like the real person, you know, it advocates for the real person out there, and you know, it's all different types of people, and like I said, just myself, I'd like to say thank you to you guys for taking the time to do this.
Oh my god.
Thank you.
We kind of like really don't like doing this. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we do it anyway.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Moni. It makes me feel happy that people like us.
We couldn't do it without people like you.
I know. So Moni, if you could tell yourself, if you could look back and tell yourself something from the beginning to at the very beginning of your journey, or like during your journey, what would it be like to whoever's starting off, like whoever's like switch just went off on their head?
Weight is not everything. It's just a part of you. It's for your health. Remember why you're doing it, and start off strong, basically. I think at a certain point in my journey, like this was, I you know, eat, sleep, and it just everything was about my weight loss. and which is awesome because it really helped me get that momentum in the beginning. But I also have to remember that there's so many different aspects to life, and that this is just one portion. If I don't get to be a quote unquote healthy BMI, I'm still valuable. I'm still a good person, and which I think is the most important. I'm a good person, and you guys are good people. I have to say that too. But that's
Are we?
I'm always going to be proud of my. I don't know sometimes.
Only on days
But
that end in
that's
Y.
what it is. Yeah, exactly. But I guess that's it. It's just value myself at any weight.
Wow, Moni, you just came all over us with your word.
I know.
Oh God, why am I like this? Okay.
Because you're awesome.
Yeah. So I think thank you for being with us, Moni. You are amazing and incredible, and you are everything that I hope to be when I am almost 2.5 years out, because maintenance is fucking hard, and anyone who knows different is 3 months post-op. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
And if everybody listening wants to check out Moni and her journey with her Spartan race, which I'm super excited about, and all the other people going out and doing the Spartan race, please go ahead and check out her Instagram. So you can keep like updated on that. And I don't know, Moni's just like a really awesome account to like follow, because like I get really inspired. And she's doing a burpees challenge, I think, this month, correct? Still?
Yes. So it's till the 28th, and we're actually gonna raffle off a ghost protein powder just for fun. Like that's.
Ooh. And on Instagram, she is VSGMoni, MONI.
You should check her out. So thank you everybody for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We want to say thank you, Moni, for coming and talking to us, because we love you so very much.
It's my pleasure, and thank you guys.
I can't wait to hug you and squeeze your cheeks, all of them.
I know.
Oh, that's a lot of cheeks there.
Hey.
So if you guys liked this podcast, please remember to rate and review us on iTunes, and also on anywhere that you're listening that gives you an option to rate and review. It helps us tremendously. We are also on YouTube, so please check us out there on our YouTube channel. And if you want to, if you really like the podcast and you want to help us out, we have merch now, which links will be in the description. And then we also have a Patreon, so you can check us out on Patreon as well. We give a lot of nice little goodies for, our patrons. And anything else am I forgetting, Sarah?
That we're awesome, and that you should definitely listen next week.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit. Listen next week, maybe just a little bit.
And I'm not saying that patrons get nude photos of us, but I'm not saying they're not, but I'm saying that they probably won't, but who knows, they probably won't. But you never know until you're a patron. You never know.
You never know what's in there.
And sometimes Sarah gets drunk for Patreon's exclusive, so who knows?
Who knows what might happen?
Loose lips sink ships, or rise tides, Why am I like this? Okay, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Moni. You are 100 million dog tits. You are the epitome of a thick thought.
Thank you.
Love you, Moni. Okay, everybody, bye.
Bye. And we want to take this opportunity to thank our Patreons, Adrian Raven, Rat Tat Tat. You're the Raven of my claw. There were so many references there. GGC, you're the VIP. Holly Johnson, thank you. Holly, you're so jolly. Sarah, is that you? This is me. It's not me, but it's you. And Shandy, you are so sandy and beachy and wonderful. Thank you all so much for being patrons.